All right, Gardner Minshew and the Colts tomorrow night against the Texans is basically a pick 'em. I'm rooting for the Indianapolis Colts and Gardner Minshew, who has joined us in the studio. I hope they can pull it off. I want them to go to the playoffs. I want to have some fun. Let's do this. Dak and the Cowboys at the Commanders Sunday afternoon. They can't seem to win on the road. The weather doesn't look awesome. They don't have a running game. However, Dak and the passing attack are really, really good. And the defense is pretty opportunistic, although I think they're a little too light in the interior D-line for my liking. But we need a dub so the Cowboys can finish number 2 in the playoffs. Our NFL update brought to you by Stella Artois. Fantastic beer to watch Gardner Minshew throw touchdowns, and also a Boar's Head charcuterie board tomorrow and Sunday. Jason made us. Jason, real quick before we go to Steve Robertson, what did you make? What am I going to try at 9 a.m. on the cameras? YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports.
So that is Cajun deer sausage wrapped in bacon, toothpick, broil it, take it out, a little mustard barbecue sauce, put it back in, let it simmer a little bit, and then enjoy yourself for the rest of the day. Do nothing. Kick back. Hang out.
Wow. It looks amazing. I can't wait to try it. 9 a.m. YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports. You can watch me eat and run my mouth. Steve Robertson, genespage.com, 247 Sports, the Boneyard Podcast. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. Steve Robertson, good morning. What can you tell me about Kevin Lamar Coleman?
Well, he's a big-time playmaker. And, it's so interesting. State has done such good work. You have to give Chad Bumpus a tremendous amount of credit for what he's done with this recruiting class. I mean, he had a huge signing day, and then you go back and you add a guy like this to plug-and-play guy that was highly recruited, also had, some big plays there at Louisville. And so it's a significant get. And this is a young man that just went in the portal, just a couple of days ago, 3 days ago, I guess. And now he's headed to Mississippi State. And, I think it's tremendous what they've done so far. The fact that this class is ranked in the top 30 is a consensus is pretty remarkable considering the circumstances that Jeff Lebby inherited.
All right. So, and I agree with you on that. I think Lebby and the crew, they have exceeded my expectations. This Michael Van Buren thing, it's obvious that he should be, he's highly rated, but he should be even more highly rated. I actually watched, some of the Under Armour All-American game. I mean, how about having the MVP? How about Lebby and crew being able to pull him in just a matter of days from Baltimore, Maryland, committed to Oregon? And then, Steve, how big of a boost, shot in the arm is this for the program that Michael Van Buren is the MVP of the Under Armour All-American game?
Well, not only that, but he earned the start, right? I mean, so, this is the best of the best in many respects. I mean, these national all-star games aren't just sign up and play. I mean, these players were selected, and Michael Van Buren gets the start. Next thing you know, it's 24-3, after the first quarter. Not only did he pass the ball well, he converted a 2-point conversion himself. But, and so, we've been very loud in our support of Michael Van Buren, for weeks now about his ranking. And at the end of the day, players are players no matter what they're ranked, but he's clearly undervalued. And there will be one more update in the 247 rankings. We do expect him to have some upward mobility there, but it's even bigger than that. It's the fact that you have your quarterback on a national stage go out there and perform the way that he did, win the Most Valuable Player award. It's significant not just for this class, but for the next class. And as you know, there's some very talented, skilled players in this state for next year that may be interested in playing with Michael Van Buren.
Steve Robertson on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. They've been busy yesterday, today, throughout the weekend. What are your expectations on transfers from the last couple of days and the next couple of days?
Well, we're still waiting for Stone Blanton to announce. We're optimistic about that, and that would be a very big get for State with the loss of the linebacker core. Basically, all your linebackers last year that showed any real production or have exhausted their eligibility, and so Stone would be a guy with SEC experience that comes in, and I think really fills a big need for State. I mean, you've gotten some good linebackers in the class so far, but none, I don't think, the caliber of Stone Blanton. But if you're able to pick him up, and then, goodness, I mean, there's more than a dozen visitors on campus this week, including Jacoby Jackson, big offensive guard from Texas Tech. I was able to confirm his visit with him a couple days ago. We'll hope to speak to him later today. I mean, that's the fun part of this, right? Is you get some guys that come in and make you a better football team this year. It's great to have J.J. Harrell and Stonka Burnside and those guys part of your class, but one of the things that I was told in the beginning when Jeff Lebby emerged as a priority candidate is that he felt he could flip this roster this year. And I think some people were maybe a little skeptical about that, but now you look at it, here we are, about 10 days away from classes starting, and it appears he is doing just that.
Okay, so what's realistic here? I mean, he's flipping the roster, maybe. We'll see how it all shakes out. I think maybe they have a few more pieces than the fan base. I mean, I read your boards, I read others. There's a lot of negativity. I guess Mississippi State people are naturally pessimistic and Ole Miss people are naturally optimistic. But what do you think realistically they can do on once this all shakes out on defense, Steve?
Well, I think you've got to get an edge rusher, right? And there's a couple on campus, this week. And so you got to get at least one of those guys, and you could probably benefit from having both of them. But, the secondary, we went through this last year, had to rebuild a secondary through the portal, and you got a bunch of guys that didn't really contribute. So you still got those guys for the most part. So you're going to need them to step up. But you've got to get some playmakers here in the next few days because that's where your needs are right now. I think offensively you feel really good, especially adding Coleman, and you pick up one more lineman. I mean, when you think of the losses on the line from a year ago, just due to the eligibility running out, the needs are on defense, and this team is going to be as good as their defense can be next year. I think offensively Lebby has the pieces he needs to form a really good offense. But these next 10 days are really, really big for the Mississippi State 2024 football season because you're going to have to go out and get some guys that could potentially be difference makers. And I think so far you've had we're fired up here. We're fired up here. But nevertheless, we got to get some guys on the defensive side of the football to make this team to make them go because offensively Lebby is going to be able to score some points, but if you can't stop anybody and it turns into a shootout, then it becomes a real challenging season.
Okay, are you expecting some Alabama players to join the Mississippi State roster?
Yeah, we're certainly watching that, right? I mean, you'd expect with Coleman Hustler having some connections there, and there have been several that have gone in the portal. I think one of the things you got to avoid from Mississippi State now is, getting the scratch and dent guy just because he played at a blue blood like Alabama. If they weren't contributing there's no guarantee of future success here. I mean, you saw that last year with Ryland Godet, and I hate to single that guy out, but everybody was so enamored. Hey, he went to Georgia, and you look inside the numbers, he never had a catch, and say, okay, well, he must be a blocking specialist, and then you get into the season, you see that it really wasn't a strong suit for him. So I think you've got to go out and find the best player regardless of where they're from, regardless of what kind of coaching. And just because a guy played for Nick Saban doesn't mean he's going to be successful here. Remember, we were so excited about Tyrell Shavers when he came in from Alabama, did a couple of good things against LSU. Next thing you know, he's off the team.
Right.
So, and it's important to understand, too, that there's a reason guys are in the portal, and it's not always positive, right? I mean, there's some guys that get processed out because they can't play in this league. And I think Mississippi State's going to be very careful in their evaluations of players as they proceed here in the next 10 days or so.
Okay. But how many starters would you like for them to land out of the portal? Let's put it a different way. How many starters would you like for them to land out of the portal on the defensive side of the football?
Well, I think 6 or so. I mean,
wow.
You look at this team. I mean,
All right, hang on. Let me go through some names here because you're dialed in. Okay, so here are some guys that I think are legit starters, SEC starters. Deontay Anderson. I think Dontarie Russell and DeMonte Russell. Travion Williams. Maybe Dinkins. Hibbler's young. Okay. Linebacker, John Lewis, yes. J.P. Purvis, yes. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think they could be. But I think you also want to go out there and recruit some guys to provide some real competition. But, this linebacker core, needs some depth. This defensive line needs some difference makers, and you're basically again kind of rebuilding the secondary. And so you've got to hit. And in order to get 6 starters, you probably got to sign 10 guys, right? I mean,
yeah.
let's just kind of call it what it is. Your hit rate has got to be great if you're Jeff Lebby.
Okay. And then you got Corey Ellington will start. What do you think on Isaac Smith, Steve? What?
Love his game. Yeah, love his game.
Okay.
And last year, he was kind of thrust out there because of a team need, but. This is a guy that we think has NFL potential, but he needs to be a dude this year. I mean, not just be a guy out there on the 2 deep. He needs to step forward and kind of be a guy that Mississippi State can count on to be a difference maker.
So if he hits on the portal, let's just say at a B level, let's say he gets a B grade, Lebby, right? And let's say the net is around 5 or 6 guys on defense, and they go after 10. I agree, 10, maybe even more to net out that number. With the schedule, if they do all that and you feel like Shapen and Lebby will move the football, and I think they've got some good skill people and some that they weren't able to use last year. How do you see it? They can get to 6 wins?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the schedules will challenge it. And, that's the thing with Lebby and this group. I mean, you're installing, new systems on both sides of the football. You got a bunch of players that never played together. I mean, so you got some real challenges, but you got some pretty good coaches, especially on the offensive side of the football. And so, that's the thing. It's kind of a hodgepodge deal on defense right now because there's just so much working against you, right? And so the spring is going to be huge. That's why it's so important to hit on the portal now and not have to rely on guys, that are finishing up a spring semester. I mean, sure, you may get 1 or 2 guys, but I don't know that you can really count on those guys without having the benefit of spring and the new system and with their new teammates built.
Yeah, no, I agree. Are you confident in the Texas Tech offensive lineman, or are you, hey, it's 50-50 and he may look around till all these schools start back?
Yeah, it's tough to get a read on him. I mean, he's supposed to go to Baylor like this weekend, and then Texas A&M is still in it. So I think there's a lot of recruiting left to do with him. Now, he could surprise us. He could wake up today and say, hey, I think this is it. I mean, you just never know because, but what we knew about recruiting even 5 years ago is different than what we know today. Right? It used to be a situation where, hey, I love the staff, I love the campus, I love the system, I love my opportunity here. I'm going to go to Mississippi State. Well, now, NIL is a factor with all this stuff. And when you have schools and opportunities that are similarly situated, sometimes it boils down to that, And so it's not just about how great the visit goes. It's about all the other, factors that didn't exist, 5 years ago.
Percy Lewis, what's the latest? Is he going to Ole Miss?
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest with you, once he went in the portal, I haven't paid a lot of attention to him. And, it's one of those situations, where this is a guy that expressed that, hey, I got to stay at tackle. I feel like that's where my NFL potential is. And he's worried about being pushed to guard. And, it's one of those things, you hear a lot of stuff, but it's like, I mean, you haven't even gone through spring practice. I mean, you don't even know, what Cody Kennedy wants you to do. I mean, you don't even know what the room looks like. And, I think he just decided, hey, I want some assurances that I'm going to be here, and maybe he didn't get those. And so he decided to go in the portal and seek another opportunity. But, again, this is where you're Mississippi State. You can't stop recruiting, right? Because you never know until the portal window closes. You don't know. And one of the things that's interesting too, Bo, is with all of this lawsuit business out there and all the litigation, everything right now that the NCAA has put in place is kind of suspect, right? Because you think, well, what's to stop a judge from some district court somewhere saying, oh, no, the portal window closed, but you can't deny these opportunities for these young men. And so, what's to say, okay, we feel like we can take a deep breath, but, what happens next week? If somebody challenges that and it becomes a TRO situation. I mean, it's an absolute mess what we're dealing with right now when it comes to transfers in college football.
Okay. Do you want to talk basketball or what?
That's fine with me. I'm excited about basketball. At the end, the ladies dropped the game last night. That was disappointing. And Vanderbilt obviously is a more improved team. But, I'm eager to see what Chris Jans and his group do. And maybe a similar situation to last year, because you're you're kind of front loaded a little bit on the SEC slate, and so you might stumble out of the gate a little bit and still have a really successful year. But
True.
if they can find a way to get a couple of wins here early, watch out. I think this team's capable of some big things, especially now that Tolu's back.
Yeah, no, I was there Sunday, and it was so good to see him back, Steve. He was having fun. I thought he moved around so well. And, in the second half when he was down there on the left post, went under the goal, finished on the right side, on the right block, and got the three-point play. That told me just his footwork and the way he was moving around. How about this? I didn't think he was going to move around that well. Did you?
No. And let's be honest about this. When we found out that he had a broken foot early in the year, we thought, well, the season's over, right? And then what a great job the staff and his team has done to kind of make something of the season. And then, really maybe you're a game behind what you wanted to be or expected to be without your best player. And that's coaching, right? And look at what Jimmy Bell has become. This is a guy that averaged 4 points a game throughout his career, and he's become a very serviceable, 5 guy. So now you've had the benefit of him getting all these game reps to go along with Tolu Smith coming back. And so I think it makes State even more formidable. I think that's the silver lining in all of this is the development of Jimmy Bell under Chris Jans' direction.
No, I think they did. The staff's done a great job with him. Steve Robertson, 247 Sports, Gene's page on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. I'm interested to see. He did a lot of substituting during this, whatever it is, 13-game, 14-game stretch. And I wonder if he wants to kind of dial that back, Steve, and land on like 8 or 9 players. How do you see it?
Well, I think it's going to depend on matchups. You're going to have some opportunities to go small and opportunities to go big. It's kind of dependent on what their personnel looks like, too. And so, I think the fact that you've had the 15-game non-conference schedule, you kind of know who you are now, right? You kind of understand. Remember in the very beginning of the year, Trey Ford comes out, sets the woods on fire, And there's been some other games where he's just kind of been, another guy. And so I think situationally, you're probably in a better situation than you've been at Mississippi State because you just simply got more pieces. You had no perimeter game at all last year.
No.
Now you've got, you can kind of hold people accountable, and people can't just sag on Tolu Smith, which I think opens him up for some greater opportunities.
I agree. And, Jans threw out a couple of defenses in that game on Sunday. I know he's trying to give some other coaches some looks, but I'll be interested to see, what all he's going to do there. Yeah, this is an interesting team for sure. How much will Hub play? You think he's just going to keep him coming first guy off the bench type deal?
I think so. And maybe that's the best for him. Let him watch for just a little bit. And plus, when you get into the SEC, everybody's seen tape, right? You got some of the best coaches in the country breaking down your tendencies, and so I think it's important for Josh to just kind of get in the flow of things and then be a dude. And there have been some games he's carried Mississippi State. That's I don't know that people expected that this year as a freshman. I think people thought he'd be an interesting piece, but there have been some games if Josh Hubbard doesn't have a big night, State loses. And so that's nice to have that, availability of that guy that can come out there and be some instant offense for you.
Dude, you're exactly right. He has carried them sometimes on the road against Power 5 teams. I'm not sure I was expecting that either. I knew he was good, but okay, DJ Jeffries, I think he didn't have a lot of confidence, plus he wasn't shooting well, and I thought he passed up on too many shots, even though he wasn't making what you wanted last year. Open looks, you got to shoot it. I think, I'm not sold yet, Steve, his shot is better, and he's more confident on the perimeter shooting.
Yeah, I think so. And he's streaky. There's some games he'll come out there and he looks like $1 million, and the next time he looks like you're not exactly sure what he's doing. But I think it's one of those deals too. Last year he took some ill-advised shots, trying to do too much, and I think now you see him shooting more in rhythm. And I think that he is maybe found a sense of himself. I think maybe last year because you struggled so much with the perimeter game, I think he felt like, hey, look, I'm gonna do my best to kind of step it up and give us some perimeter stuff, and it didn't always work out, but I do think he's playing more within himself. And when he's good, Mississippi State is really good. When it's like you make some contributions, but when he has a big night, Mississippi State typically has a really big night.
No doubt. I mean, it's Shaq Moore too, but I agree. I mean, DJ, when he gets up around 10 points and some things are going, I mean, I understand his perimeter defense, but I agree with, man, if he can add some juice on the offensive end, boy, does it open it up for Hub and Tolu and some others. All right, man. Is the site going to be kicking this weekend with all kinds of stuff?
Oh, yeah. And that's one thing, too, like we were talking about that yesterday. I had some personal stuff to attend to and had a funeral to go be a pallbearer, too, and that's never fun. It's always such an honor. But, it's like trying to track down a lot of kids that a lot of times these transfers don't talk, and so you got to work hard to kind of get it all done. But, it's so funny. The visit list went from like 7 to 14 in like 4 hours. It's like all of a sudden you started getting messages back from guys and said, "Oh yeah, I'm actually visiting Mississippi State this weekend." And so I can't speak enough to what a good job this staff has done getting guys on campus. That was one of the challenges last year. It's like, hey, it's a short window, but State has done a really good job getting guys on campus. And you know as well as I do, you can't get them on campus to visit. You're not getting them on campus to play. So exponentially, things have been so much better. And I think it says a lot about this staff. And, again, they're going to be judged on what they do on the football field. But part of that equation is what you do in the portal and what you do on National Signing Day. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see what Jeff Lebby and crew do when they have a full year to recruit.
All right, one more. I'm going to put you on the spot. Who's going to be the Friday night starter for Chris Lemonis?
I'm going to go Gerangelo. And I think it's one of those things, too, that, we're getting in, everybody's getting ready to report again. And so we'll have, spring practice. I'm eager to see, is Nate Dome the first guy of the bullpen? Because Nate had some really good showings this fall. But, you could throw him twice a weekend. Might be the difference in, being a 2-seed or a 3-seed. And I do think this is a postseason team. I think offensively they're going to be outstanding. But still got to figure some things out pitching-wise. Where does Lofton factor in? Is he a Sunday guy? Is he a Tuesday guy? But you got more pieces to work with this year, and I think the work Justin Parker did this fall is outstanding. And so now you got to do it when it matters most.
All right. We'll leave it there. GenesPage.com. Check it out right now, 247 Sports. Thanks, Steve.
See ya.
That was brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Jason, bundle your car and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Go local, go with the home team, as Jake Mangum likes to say. Favorites.com, F-A-V-E. Favorites.com. Jason, and I guess Miranda, but Jason cooked us some Cajun deer sausage wrapped in bacon with a little mustard barbecue sauce that I'm about to try coming up next. I want you to go to YouTube and search Out of Bounds Sports and see me stuff my face with boar's head bacon and Cajun deer sausage and this mustard barbecue sauce. I'm going to go over to the bar, go to YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports. If you want to hit the subscribe button, we love you even more. Happy New Year. Big NFL weekend and SEC basketball play is here. Back in a sec.